Is the Lightning Network overhyped? Is Lightning Network not actually working the way that you would have expect? Or is this just the classic story of hard technology takes a very long time before it is used on a global scale?
I think that some people interpret it in that way. And the way that Twitter works is that the most extreme version of something and the most what do you call it, conflict inciting version is the one that gets traction. So in the end, that's what the message ended up being, even though it wasn't. Like I was talking to Lightning builders at a Bitcoin and Lightning conference.
You mean that the meme Sergey is anti-Lightning is incorrect?
Yes, Sergey is incredibly bullish on Lightning. I think that, but also I think that like we need to be, we the builders need to be honest with ourselves, with what's going well, what's going badly, what can we do better? How can we get it to grow faster? I mean, Lightning is growing depending on which metric, but like 2 to 4x every year. That's pretty good, right? Yeah, that's pretty good. But also like in the crypto industry, we every once in a while see things that just like take fuck off in a big hockey stick, and Lightning hasn't really done that. So it's somewhere in between. I think that the thing that we need to understand is a lot of these things and like how you described 2017. I wouldn't entirely agree with all of that, and I don't know if we should go into the details.
Yeah, explain.
Well, I mean, in 2017 was a world in which before then transaction fees were negligible. And so nobody cared about optimizing anything to save on fees or fee estimation and things like that. And so suddenly there was a boom cycle and people were sending coins to exchanges to sell them. And there was no optimizations in terms of saving on the data usage of transaction. There was no like none at all optimizations on like fee estimation and so on. And it created like a big mess. What happened after that is that over the course of some years, there's been a lot of optimization. I think the biggest optimization that has happened isn't Lightning. It's not even SegWit. It's simply the fact that centralized exchanges have started batching their transactions. So when you're a big exchange and you have 100 people doing withdrawals per minute, then instead of making 100 transactions, you make one transaction with 100 different outputs, and that saves like half. Or actually, no, it saves like at scale 90% plus of the data usage. And so a big part of why you see load on the mempool being lower is related to that. I helped create a dashboard called the transactionfee.info that tracks a metric called payments, which counts these individual outputs to better have a view of like how many transactions in the sense that people normally understand, not in the Bitcoin sense. So we call them payments instead, like how many payments are happening. That number is growing steadily, but it's not, it's less than doubling every year. So it's growing at some pace. Lightning has a chunk of on-chain traffic that has moved over. But I think that a big part also because of like all of the events of 2017 being so deeply rooted in the psyche of the Bitcoiners and how we've, at the time, Lightning was presented as this the thing that will make it scale. And so in a lot of ways, it was a political thing because it was opposed to the other things that the other camp wanted to do, which was increasing the block size and stuff like that. So it became the case that Lightning is being marketed primarily to people within the movement. Right. And so then it becomes that the users of Lightning are the intersection of people who are users of Bitcoin the tool and also members of Bitcoin the movement, which is definitely a non-zero group. And as we just established, it's growing. It's more than doubling every year. So it's definitely growing. But it is in some ways having trouble reaching the people that are not in the movement. Because everyone in Lightning is so deep in the movement, and that was kind of the purpose of my talk, is like, guys, we're all great, but let's look at the bigger world And there's a lot of people that might use our things, but never get a chance to because they never find out that they exist because we are so focused to sort of people that are like us. Where in reality, many of the people that are like us in the movement are actually not users of transactional Bitcoin tools. And so, like in terms of like user development, like their feedback can be counterproductive. Right. You should talk to people that are like 100% user demographic. And so that was kind of a little bit what was the purpose of my talk then. I think that I'm still incredibly bullish on Lightning. I still think that it is, the technology that is most likely to be what brings cryptocurrency to many people in a decentralized way. It's definitely far ahead of the equivalent layer 2 solutions in the Ethereum world. I'll say that. But I think it's important for us who are building, and Lightning by definition is a transactional tool, right? If your only usage of Bitcoin is to hold it in a hardware wallet or hold it in your Charles Schwab account, then you're not going to be a user of Lightning by definition, right? And some people might do it as a gimmick, like, I'll spin up a node, or, Hey, I heard Sergey said on Pomp's podcast that to be a good Bitcoiner, I should run a Lightning node, so I'll do that, right? So they do that, but it's not natural, right? And so I think that's like the important thing is to be mindful of the people that do use Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies on a transactional basis. And again, the question of like, are they using other cryptocurrencies and shitcoins, this and that? Like, look, people who use it as a tool, we already established, like most of them couldn't care less about any of the things that we are arguing over, and which of the coins has the better decentralization properties or whatever. They just want to get their thing done. And so a good example that I've brought up is to look at the wallets that are being used in transactional usage, right? And there's different ways of getting that information. I think the fairest one is to just, open the App Store on your phone or the Google Play Store and type in Bitcoin wallet. And then you can see what the algorithm has decided is the most likely that you will download, right? And that is what most people will download, and what most people that couldn't care less are going to use. And that paints a clear picture, because all of the wallets that we discuss in the movement, in the community, they're, some of the best ones are there, sort of in the top 10, at least. It's like, hey, but like, hey, they're not anywhere near the top 3. Right?
Yeah.
So and so that also means, even though we've spent all of this energy on education and preaching and explaining, and this is why you should use a wallet that's open source, and this is why you should care about this security property or that security property, all of these things, right? But again, the people that only want to use it as a tool, they never hear those things, right? They don't get exposed to that. They just typed in Bitcoin wallet in the App Store, and that's that. They're done. They got their job done that they wanted to get done. They got paid or they made the transaction that they wanted to do, and they're done. They moved on with their day. We're discussing, who's really a Bitcoiner, and what are the criteria fulfilled for that? But like, nobody cares, and they don't probably identify as Bitcoiners. And we can argue, should we count them as Bitcoiners? And who cares? It's just words, right? So I think that there's like these things are kind of like important to be mindful of. And then also, okay, once you picture. And I think you can, like, to some extent, by seeing a wallet and like maybe some geographical data and so on, you can a little bit picture the user, right? I mean, you don't even need to know their age or gender or whatever. Those are like the least interesting things. You just kind of like, okay, it's the user I got the blockchain.com wallet. Okay, what's that person like? Okay, interesting. And then you can kind of like Okay, they're in Nigeria. Okay, so you kind of like count backwards a little bit and like, okay, but how do we reach that user? How do we, create something that user might think is interesting to use in a completely transactional, non-loving way, right? Use is an excellent word here as like an opposite to love. They're not going to love Bitcoin, and I don't think that necessarily it's a requirement that everybody in the world, 8 billion people should all love and be passionate about Bitcoin. I think most people are going to use it as a thing and care about it just as much as you and I care about scissors. Scissors are great, but yeah, we go about our day.
Hey, you, did you like this video? Great. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, and see you next time.